up to audio soundbite number 5, Mr. Broadcast Engineer. And we're back, folks. Broadcast excellence, another hour. Performed and executed by me, El Rushbo, your highly trained broadcast specialist, using talent on loan from God. Happy to have you here. Our telephone number, if you want to be on the program, is 800-282-2882, the email address. lrushbo at eibnet.com. A couple of quotes. I mentioned the two stories James Taranto found at Wall Street Journal, Best of the Web today. E.J. Dionne Jr. and Drew Weston, these two guys worried about Obama's loss. And if these two guys are worried, there are a lot more who are. And it means that they're talking about it. And they, I think for the first time in 4 years, are dealing with what for them is something truly shocking. Obama could lose. And so in dealing with that, the number one concern is that liberalism not be blamed. No, 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 no. It cannot be seen, reported as an ideological failure. It can't be that socialism screwed up the country. Can't be that liberalism screwed up the country. So I pull a quote from the Drew Weston piece. Whether or not, this is Taranto writing about it. Whether or not Drew Weston's 2,450-word story titled "If Obama Loses the Election, Here's Why," whether or not that's plausible, he has a political reason for telling it. This may be the most important election ever, but it's not the end of history. If Obama loses, it will matter whether the loss is seen as an ideological repudiation. Weston aims to save leftism from Obama. They're not going to be able to do that. I mean, they're going to try, of course, but Obama is leftism. If Obama loses, socialism will have lost. Liberalism will have lost. And Obama will have lost. There's going to be a whole bunch of things tied into this and rolled in together. E.J. Dionne Jr. fears a mandate for conservatism if Obama loses. He fears that people have voted for conservatism. The same fear they had when the Republicans took control of the House in 1994. The conservatives made that mistake, but of assuming that's what it meant, and they stopped teaching. They assumed the country had overnight become conservative, which it had not. It simply didn't like Democrats and the corruption and 40 years of monolithic control. Where Weston fears a repudiation of left liberalism, Dionne Jr. fears a mandate for conservatism. Either way, it is in the interest of the left to find a way to pin a prospective Obama loss on non-ideological factors, either impersonal ones like economic discontent or personal shortcomings of Obama's. If Obama loses, even if he wins, unless the economy finally takes off in his second term, the left will have to work to distance itself from his legacy, as Drew Weston is already doing. No wonder Stephanie Cutter is down in the dumps, writes James Taranto. Look, folks, you know and I know that if Obama loses, the first thing they're going to do is blame it on racism. And then the next they're going to blame it on is racism. And then the third thing that they will blame Obama's defeat on is racism. And then the fourth thing they'll blame it on is racists. And then the fifth thing they'll blame Obama's loss on is racism. And then the sixth thing that they will cite as the reason for Obama's defeat is racists. And the seventh thing they'll cite is that people were not swayed by the AP story that Obama had authentic slave blood. Therefore, people were racist. You know it, and I know it. Taranto writes, the Obama campaign has been overconfident and complacent for sure. If you need a reminder, read the second item in our May 7th column and Mark Halpern's Time.com piece of the same day. If the Obama campaign has now come to terms with the reality that victory isn't in the bag and adjusted its strategy and tactics accordingly, that can only be good for the president's prospects. But it's an odd thing to advertise. What, after all, is the emotional payoff of making a minuscule donation to a political campaign? Surely not the illusion that one is making the difference between victory and defeat, but rather the idea that one owns a piece of victory by virtue of having invested in it. This is all the $3 donations and, how they're running around and trying to get as many people involved here and invested in Obama's victory as possible. Now, audio soundbites. Mitt Romney ad that ran yesterday on the Super PAC Restore Our Future website. A new ad entitled Olympics. We've got the ad, and in the ad, gold medal figure skater Kristi Yamaguchi, the 2002 Olympic Games Chief Operating Officer Fraser Bullock, gold medal skeleton racer Jimmy Shea, speed skater Derek Para, and an unidentified announcer. This is the ad that pretty good.
As an athlete, you're training your whole life for that one moment at the Olympics.
But America's Winter Olympics were mired in scandal and deficits. They turned to Mitt Romney.
He faced a $400 million budget deficit and turned that around to a $100 million surplus.
And after September 11th, Romney delivered the Olympics safe and secure.
Mitt gets things done. He changed my life.
Mitt Romney brought a huge sense of hope.
That allowed athletes like myself to be able to realize our dreams.
That's an ad that is pretty effective. It's running during the Olympics. It's got the Obama people all ticked off. The only linkage Obama has to the Olympics is losing them for Chicago. You remember? Shortly after he was immaculated, he triumphantly, after he'd been given the Nobel Peace Prize on the come. Never before had they given a peace prize and somebody hadn't done it. Well, that's not true. Practically every recent winner hasn't done anything for peace, but they gave it to Obama. He'd been in office a month or so. He gets on a plane. He goes over to wherever it was. I don't know, Geneva, wherever the IOC was meeting to award the Olympics. And it was just assumed Obama was going to show up. Oh, man, automatic, Chicago. He was out of there in 5 minutes. Chicago didn't get it. I think Rio de Janeiro did. The IOC said crime is the same in both places, so where would we rather go? And they decided they'd go to South America. Anyway, the latest piece from the left on Obama's, you didn't build it. You didn't make that happen. You had nothing to do with your success. Who do you think you are? The roads and the bridges. That's who's successful. The roads and the bridges did it. You didn't do that. The latest entry is from a guy named Jonathan Chait. Jonathan Chait. I think he writes for New York Magazine. It's either New York or the New Yorker or I forget which. Yeah. Jonathan Chait, you may remember, is a guy who I forget which Bush term it was, but he wrote a piece that was titled Why I Hate George W. Bush, and it was celebrated. It was welcomed. You know, the left always talks, we need to have more civility in our political discourse. We need to be polite. We need to be respectful. And here comes Chait writing this piece, Why I Hate Bush. And it was applauded and celebrated. So Jonathan Chait says that Obama's "you didn't build that" speech revived racial resentments about redistributive fiscal policy, partly because the president was speaking in a black dialect. Could we grab audio soundbite number 3? Here is President Obama, July 13th in Roanoke, Virginia, with the famous, "You didn't build that." And I want all of you to listen to this and tell me if you think Obama, by a cookie, if you can, I know this, I should have thought of this 2 hours ago. She's not going to have enough time to do this. See if you can find Obama speaking in Selma during the campaign of 2008, went down there with Hillary and everybody, and trying to demo that he was down for the struggle. Now, everybody knows he had nothing to do with Selma, but he tried to go down there and make it look like his roots were in Selma. And I think he said that his father, Barack Obama, had told him that if it weren't for what had happened in Selma, that nothing would have happened for him. I had some such thing. Maybe we can find. I know we've got it archived. It's a matter of getting it prepped. But I want you to listen to this. I want you to tell me if you think that Obama is speaking here in a black dialect.
If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own. You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart. There are a lot of smart people out there. It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. There are a whole bunch of hard-working people out there. If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we had that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. The internet didn't get invented on its own. Government research created the internet, so then all the companies could make money off the internet.
Is there a black dialect in there? You don't think so because of what? Yeah, you understood it. So what black dialect was? Snurdly, you have 100% slave blood. Was there, what? That not a black dialect. What did you say about, it was racist for me to put? Oh, it's racist to say that it's racist to say that it couldn't have been black dialect because you could understand it. It's racist as, I didn't say that. No, it wasn't me. So I've got somebody shouting that in my ear, and I repeated it. And Snurtley is refuting it. All I'm interested in, is that a black dialect? All right, it's not a black dialect. Fine. Jonathan Chait says the president's "you didn't build it" speech revived racial resentments about redistributive policy, partly because the president was speaking in a black dialect. Now, maybe this was a problem with the speech, but the key problem is much simpler. The president was needlessly insulting. He wasn't just calling on successful people to pay more in tax. He was being dismissive of their accomplishments. This is a piece by Josh Barrow, by the way, at Bloomberg. I mean, he's right here. The whole thing was insulting. And it was filled with resentment, Obama resentment. Hard-working. There are a lot of hard-working people out there, and they got nothing but the shaft. And there are a lot of smart people out there, and they got nothing but the shaft of this country. You're smart. And what Obama's doing, he's setting everybody up who agrees with him to accept the idea that he's got to go get all the money that the rich have, because it's not theirs. It's the members of the audience. It's the middle class's money. They built all the stuff and made it possible for the rich guy to get rich. And Elizabeth Warren's out there saying the same thing. Obama was trying to whip up resentment in a predominantly black audience in Roanoke. That's what he was trying to do. Well, this notion that smart has you're smart, or you worked harder than everybody else. A whole lot of hard working people out there. A lot of smart people out there. So what's ironic about it? Here's Obama upset, apparently, at people who take credit for their own success. Yet doesn't he do the same thing? Isn't he I, me, my throughout every speech he makes? I got bin Laden. And I did this, or I did whatever. But Mr. Barrow here has it nailed. He was right. He was insulting. Now, Mr. Barrow has done something interesting. He went back to the second season of West Wing. That's the TV show written by Aaron Sorkin. And he remembered a scene in West Wing. Speechwriter Sam Seaborn, played by Rob Lowe, explains to the staff of some liberal House members why he will not insert a line in President Bartlett's upcoming speech. They want, in this TV show, they want the president to attack Republican tax cut proposals as financing private jets and swimming pools for the wealthy. And the speechwriter for the president, Sam Seaborn, Rob Lowe, says, Henry, last fall, every time your boss got on a stump and said it's time for the rich to pay their fair share, I hid under a couch and I changed my name. I left Gage Whitney making $400,000 a year, which means that I paid 27 times the national average in income tax. I paid my fair share, Henry, and the fair share of 26 other people. And I'm happy to, because that's the only way it's going to work. And it's in my best interest that everybody be able to go to schools and drive on roads. But I don't get 27 votes on Election Day. The fire department doesn't come to my house 27 times faster. And the water doesn't come out of my faucet 27 times hotter. The top 1% of wage earners in this country pay for nearly 22% of this country. Let's not call them names while they're doing it. That's all I'm saying. That was a script. That's from the West Wing. Aaron Sorkin. And attacking this whole notion that the rich aren't paying their fair share in that show even. Let me take a time out here. We'll come back. We'll continue this before you know it.